Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of He's a Porn Addict Now What? The podcast. Everything is based on this book, He's a Porn Addict Now What? Written by a wonderful man named Tony Overbay, a licensed marriage and family therapist and a good friend of mine. My name is Joshua Shea. I play the role of the former addict, and we've been going step by step through our book, answering the questions that are there. We give you a little bit of commentary afterwards to see if we're still at the same place as when we wrote this book several years ago. There's also some bonus content that you can learn about here in the notes of the podcast itself. But let's get right into today's question. Tony's going to answer this first. So, Tony, let me tee this one up for you as if we were playing t-ball.
Okay.
T-ball or golf, I guess, would be teeing something up. The question is, I've heard the term gaslighting used in this situation. What does it mean?
All right, Joshua, let me tell you what it means, all right? Because this is still just as equally being asked today as it was when we wrote this book. Gaslighting is basically when the betrayed asks a question of the betrayer, and the betrayer is able to take the question and flip it around to either ask a similar, yet often nonsensical question of the betrayed, or provide an answer that leaves the betrayed feeling crazy for even suggesting it, or stupid for asking the question in the first place. It's manipulation, manipulation, manipulation. So, for example, in the first ever performance of the He's a Porn Addict Now What players, Josh will be playing the role of the wife, and I will be playing the role of the husband. Josh, or how are you? Are you ready for your big debut?
Yes.
Okay.
Why were you late coming home last night?
I went and grabbed a beer with friends.
Lisa said she saw you coming out of an adult movie theater yesterday after work.
Okay, when did she tell you this?
Last night before you got home.
Okay, does Bill know his wife is going to adult movie theaters?
What? She was on the outside.
Okay, I was with my friends, including Bill, so do you want me, you want to call him? Do you want to check?
No.
Okay, well, you should. I mean, are you making that part up about Lisa? I mean, are you lying?
No, I'm not.
Okay, doesn't it seem strange that she'd see me and not her husband, especially since neither of us were even at a movie or a strip club or a bookstore or whatever? We got a beer.
But she said that...
So in this world of 8 billion people, do you think she could have possibly made a mistake? So, no, call her right now. And if she's totally sure, she'll probably laugh at you.
Never mind.
Okay, I seriously can't even believe you think that I'd even go to one of those places.
I'm sorry.
End scene. Okay, Josh, well done. So I would wager that the husband was by himself at the theater and the wife's friend absolutely saw him. He knew if he threw a bunch of rapid fire questions at her that questioned the reality of the situation, that she would back off. You know that she didn't forget about it when the conversation was over. She probably walked away wondering if her husband could have been telling the truth, and she was jumping to conclusions by listening to her friend. That is classic gaslighting. I have people trying to gaslight me in my office every day. It's the go-to defense mechanism for personality disorders like narcissism and addiction. If there's a tendency toward narcissism, then this is an especially effective tool in their arsenal. They can gaslight with a single blank stare. When I try to bring them back to the initial question, I'm usually told I'm an idiot, not a good therapist, or some other personal attack. I could write an entire book about gaslighting, but the thing to walk away with is that you need to be confident in your truths. What if you saw him walking out of the theater instead of your friend? Could he still talk his way out of it? Be confident that you, not he, lives in the world of truth. It's important to understand how gaslighting works and how damaging it can be to your relationship. Be aware when your partner uses this form of manipulation so you don't get caught in its trap. All right, Josh, your answer.
I know Tony will handle the technical side of gaslighting, so I'll just handle the been there, done that side. Gaslighting is me making you think that you're crazy for asking me questions about being a porn addict. Gaslighting is me manipulating you into doubting your own good sense of what is happening in front of your eyes. It's me telling you that I'm getting better and taking care of my problems, so you live on the fumes of false hope. It's about saying what I need to say and doing what I need to do in any given situation so I can continue to be an addict and take the spotlight off of myself. Gaslighting is the control I have over you. I know you don't want to leave this marriage or relationship. I know you love me. I know you worry about how you deal with finances on your own, or what would happen to the kids if you took some kind of stand about my condition. I know all of these things, and I will use all of them to my advantage. I want you to stop asking questions and telling me what to do, and I want to be left alone to engage in my unhealthy behavior. I'll do what it takes to make that happen because I'm an addict. Porn, sex, gambling, drugs, food, alcohol. It doesn't matter the addiction. As long as you're standing in the way of me getting what I want, I'll do what I need to do to move you out of the way, even if it's hold you mentally and emotionally hostage. That's because I'm an addict. You may read this and think to yourself, what an evil person. My man isn't like that. But I've described just about every addict I've ever met. Tony tells me the term comes from an old movie, but it should be a magic show, because gaslighting is the #1 illusion in any addict's box of tricks. We all learn how to lie and manipulate in life. It's just that the addict, by sheer means of practice and necessity, gets really good at it. Maybe that's why I did well in business and politics. I said what I had to say to get what I wanted. There were times when I would lie about something and think to myself, holy crap, that sounded legit. I could be an actor. I look back now and realize that wasn't a compliment.
Oh man. Okay. I forgot about your answer on this one, my friend. And it's so good. I mean, it's so good. I mean, it's unfortunate. And I know that we're laughing about this right now. I gave it a good snort, but boy, you spun so much truth there of you were good at it. It was the way you got out of situations. It got you to your supply. And then I love that when people will say to me often, do they know? And that's why I just love that part where sometimes were you just even impressed with yourself? Oh, that sounded good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and it's, you know, what's funny is that, and I'll talk about this more in our bonus material, you know, going back to being a little kid, watching professional wrestling, I cheered for the bad guy because when they would give their interviews about why they would fight, and we all know that pro wrestling is fixed, and we all know that it's largely just like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's an audience participation, stage play. But there was something about the bad guys and the ones who could talk very well that interested me. Because, and I learned this later on when I actually started to work in professional wrestling briefly, the best villain is the one who absolutely believes everything he's saying, because then you believe everything he's saying. And if I could convince myself in those moments of gaslighting that I was telling the truth, that I was on the side of good, that I was a victim of somebody's accusations, I could sell it like, you know, an Academy Award nominated actor. That's how good I got at it. And the thing that's unfortunate for my wife is that I met her 11 years into my addiction. So I already had 11 years of gaslighting my mom, gaslighting my dad, gaslighting the woman that came before her. You know, I probably, if there was, you know, a level of this, I should have had a doctorate in gaslighting by the time I met my wife. If she came into everything thinking, oh, you know, this is such a nice guy, it's only because I was a master manipulator by that point. And I think that's important for a lot of the women who are listening to recognize, is that these guys come into the relationships already having these skills of deception. It's not just while they've been with you, they've adapted them. My wife was dealing with somebody who already had 11 years of learning to lie and manipulate to people. So, you know, and not to pat myself on the back in a bad way, she never stood a chance.
No, and you know what, Josh, it's funny when you even say the 11 years. So I say from a clinician standpoint that gaslighting is a childhood defense mechanism. And so gaslighting comes from that childhood trauma, abandonment, abuse, where the kid has learned I cannot take ownership responsibility of something because I'll get the crap beat out of me, or I'll get denied, food, I'll get denied love. And so when it starts young as a childhood defense mechanism, I always say it becomes the air one breathes. And so, so I love what you're saying. I mean, it's unfortunate, but by the time you hit a relationship, you're in full stride as this is I imagine that's the air you breathe, because And this is why I talk so much about, we threw in there a couple of things about narcissism, or, I've got a whole separate podcast called Waking Up to Narcissism, but I made a big shift there at one point to talk about emotional immaturity. So when you look at, there's narcissistic personality disorder, which is a small percentage of the population, but we're all emotionally immature. And that's where I feel like that difference is the narcissist, the diagnosed malignant malicious narcissist. This is something that they cannot not do. But to the emotionally immature, then, being aware that at some point that I am doing that is going from this place of, unconscious incompetence to then being aware that I am doing this and not being able to stop, to then now being able to notice. So I don't know. Did you have times where you were doing it and then you were able to stop in the moment and take ownership, or was that difficult?
Also, not drinking were sometimes far easier than not gaslighting, because you recognize you do that in all aspects of your life. And that's the thing, is that, I can go back and recognize why I developed these defense mechanisms.
Yes.
There's a fine line between defense mechanism and survival skill, especially when you're a 5-6 year old kid who's just trying to get through the day and not be mentally, emotionally, or sexually abused, as I was, where I was being taken care of as a caregiver. Yeah. So I learned very early on, say what you have to say, do what you have to do, play the game so you can just survive to tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow will be better. And eventually it does become better, but then when you're at school in 2nd or 3rd grade and you're going to get in trouble, and that means trouble with your parents, who, by the way, your parents are elementary school teachers, so getting trouble at school is worse because all of their friends are the teachers, and they know everybody in the system, so you really have to behave. So you gaslight. And then, at your work, if there's a problem, you gaslight. You become this amazing liar to the point where you tell a lie and it almost becomes the truth because it came out of your mouth. And what was more interesting than catching myself gaslighting in the moment when I was in recovery was recognizing that lies that I started to tell 10, 15 years earlier were lies, because I had told them so many times that I thought they were the truth. And that was really some of the most interesting part, was undoing the gaslighting and undoing the lies that I had perpetuated for so many years. That was the most challenging part to me, was this still is a lie. This still is not the truth. I have to undo this. And this is going to be some red tape in telling everybody.
Yeah.
Remember when I said I did this 10 years ago? It never actually happened. It's just.
It's funny too, and we'll cover this. So this is going to be a bonus episode that I am. You're going to have to calm me down on, because now we're into this world of, there's the concept called, sneak preview, confabulation. And confabulation is the process of filling in these gaps of memory with a narrative that has to back up how I feel about myself. So the more that there's a pretty fascinating article about narcissism and confabulation. And so the more you're on that narcissistic scale or emotionally immature scale, the more you confabulate your memory. So you recreate memory, and the narcissist or the emotionally mature or the addict will confabulate in real time. And so while they're doing that, it is becoming the narrative. And that's why, there may be a certain celebrity that may have murdered a couple of people that now you could do a polygraph or a brain scan, and they didn't do it. No, they didn't. And you couldn't convince them to do it, that they did it. And so they're so sure, because of this confabulation, because of this gaslighting, that then now they do not think they did anything wrong. So imagine then now if you're arguing with them, and that's why I like what you said earlier, you will walk away from that one feeling crazy, because you can even say, here's a picture of you doing it. Here's that. And then that's where they're even like, I don't know how you did that. Yeah, exactly. And I've had, and the bonus one, I'll tell a doozy of a story about confabulation, and someone that I got to talk with a decade later that literally got mad at me for bringing up something that I had always remembered, that, it's amazing.
With clients, you handle gaslighting when it's coming right at you, and you're hearing it. And how you handle that, if you let them hang themselves with their rope or you call them out on it. I think that's something I've always wanted to learn, because I know in my earliest days of therapy, when I didn't talk about my addiction.
It's so
And
good.
It
Yes.
was almost like
Yeah.
interview Josh hour, and I just went because other people wanted me to, and it was just more of attention on me. I know that I told plenty of lies. I told plenty of stories, and I'm sure they did. They didn't say anything. Maybe that's why we didn't click, because I wasn't honest.
Your therapist knew it too.
I'm not sure, but I'd love to hear your take
They
on
did.
that in the bonus material.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be so fun to talk about. So, all right, huge bonus episode today. So we will see you over on the other side, and yeah, you're gonna learn about confabulation. I'm gonna maybe we'll bring back the feature players from earlier in the same episode, and I will walk you through a therapy session, Josh, and I will call you out on your gaslighting in a very lovable and adorable way.
Bye.
So, okay, okay. All right, we'll catch you on the bonus episode. All right, thanks, Josh.